Live from Beit Shemesh and broadcasted around the world, you are listening to the From Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Nahum Kligman. Interviews and advice from Jewish entrepreneurs from around the world. Listen, learn, be Matzliach.
Welcome to episode 15 of the From Entrepreneur. And today I have Avi Singer as our guest. Avi is the founder and CEO of Showed.me. That's SHOWD.me. I'll, of course, put the link in the show notes. Before we introduce Avi, first of all, I want to thank all my listeners. You guys have absolutely been fantastic. The feedback I've been getting has been great. I haven't made this request yet online, on the air, I should say, but if you're on an iOS system or if you have iTunes, if you could take the 30 seconds and just rank it. If you enjoy the show, maybe leave some comments. That would be absolutely fantastic. Really helps in getting our show out to more people. So thank you very much. And without further ado, I want to introduce Avi. Avi, are you there?
I am here.
Avi, welcome to the show. And, I've heard a bit about you, but I'm really looking forward to learning more about Showed.me. And, let's dig in. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what Showed.me is?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate reaching out, really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I've heard a few of the other podcasts you've done so far, and they've been really, really interesting, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Showed.me, as we pronounce it, maybe I should have mentioned that before, but Showed.me is a training platform for organizations to use. And what's different about our training platform versus others is that ours focuses on peer-to-peer learning. So basically using your employees to train other employees. If you think about our world today and the whole concept of the sharing economy, the Airbnbs, the Ubers, this concept of sort of sharing your resources is something that people are getting really comfortable with. And we expect that organizations are going to start to leverage this more in the future as well. And in addition, basically it's the name of our company. When you ask somebody, how did you learn how to do that? How did you learn how to sell? How did you learn how to provide customer service? How did you learn how to negotiate like that? Most often people will say, well, somebody showed me. Someone showed me how to do that. And what we're really trying to do is get organizations to leverage that even more. So
basically, actually, it's really a fantastic idea if you think about it. When I guess you have a new employee coming to a company, coming to an organization, they may get the job and they show up and they're like, well, how do I do 1,000 different things? So here you're saying the people that have already been doing it for a while, the people that are already in, know the ins and outs, instead of having to go to each person and to rehash, everything is recorded or everything is put in one place for a new employee to come and learn from the people that actually have the hands-on experience. Is that correct?
Exactly. So it's changing the way the organizations traditionally tried to train their employees. They used the classroom, which has been around for thousands of years. They used recorded sessions or documentation. And again, when you think about people today, and you don't want to label anyone as millennials or things like that. But when you think about people today, that's just not the way people learn anymore. People don't learn in classrooms. People don't learn through sitting through a long class or reading documents. They learn through others. They learn through reaching out. If I want to know something, I may reach out on Twitter and say, who knows something about? And people will respond, or on Facebook. And we want to bring the same learning to organizations. And it's exactly like you said, people have done this before. People have the experience and they want to share it. And we're providing the platform just to enable that and make it easier for it to happen.
Again, I hate to reiterate myself, but it really is a fantastic idea because, I'm just thinking, even the old style, besides just sitting in a classroom, you're just reading what some corporate writer put up about the company or put up, how they want to do things. But here you're getting actual real world experience. And I think that's much more powerful than just, something that they hired a marketer to put together, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah, we're finding the same thing. You might go to school and, I'll give you the example of an engineer. You might go to school and learn different coding languages. You might learn, PHP or C or databases or things like that. And then when you walk into the organization, there's a very nuanced way that organization uses that code in their platform, right? So there's a way that they use Java or PHP or whatever it is, or their mobile application. So coming in and sort of knowing it, that's one part of it. But more importantly, when you come into an organization, like you said, you don't want to read off some documentation that someone created. You want to talk to that engineer who's working on the platform and doing the things you'll be doing and say, how do you use Java in our product or in our platform? How do you use a PHP in order to write the various web pages or whatever it is that we have? And it's a much more practical, much more thorough experience. And then also, like you mentioned before, the ability to record that. And that's so easy now. We have so many tools to video record and record screen shares and things like that, that becomes huge also, where we can record a lot of these conversations or demonstrations that are happening and share that with others. You're just, building up a lot of really, really great content for organizations to use.
Fantastic. And can people like comment on the content, or can they rate the content?
So that's an interesting question.
Let's say you have 20 sales guys and they have 20, they're all posting different things on, hey, how to do a sale or how to promote a product. Which one is really which has worked for other people. That type of idea.
Yeah. So the way that we look at it is more along the lines of like Google does. We sort of put the ones that are popular based on the number of views or downloads. We put that in front of you. The challenge we have with allowing people to sort of rate things is that it's an employee volunteering their time. Right. Or even commenting also. Right. So it's an employee who basically said, yeah, I'm willing to give a half hour to a new colleague or to an old colleague and teach them how to run reports or do something, and if one person gets a bad rating, it'll affect their willingness to do this in the future. Hey, I'm volunteering my time. Why would you do that to me? And right. Two, it may make others nervous as well. Right. So this is like public forums, managers can see it, HR can see it. Others may get nervous.
That's a horrible idea.
Right. So others may get a little bit nervous about it, but we like the notion of just really, again, like I said, like the way that search works. It's if it's popular, if people are linking to it, if people are viewing it, that means it's popular. So you're right. You may have 10 or 15, similar pieces of content, but what we do is we sort of sort it by the one that seems to get a lot of attention and assume that that's the one that's probably best for employees to look at first.
Excellent. So I want to dig in a little bit more, but before we do, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where you were born, where you were raised, the schools you went to, all that type of stuff.
Sure, absolutely. So born and raised in Montreal, Canada.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Francais?
Not anymore. That's
by the way, it's the only thing I know in French.
Probably pretty much the only thing I understand in French anymore. But grew up in Montreal. My parents are still there. Went to yeshiva there. And once I graduated high school, went to Yeshiva Gedola of Montreal. And once I graduated high school, I realized that, one of the challenges with staying in Montreal or Quebec is that, people actually work bilingually there. I wasn't a great student, and frankly, learning in one language was hard enough for me. But to have to go to college and then, try to start a business or get a job, having to do it, both French and English, I saw as a big challenge.
Fortunately, I just want to interject here with a little story of my own. Because I totally feel your pain point. When I was in high school, I went to JEC for a couple of years in Elizabeth. I remember I had Spanish class. And after like 2 or 3 days of Spanish, I said, okay, we have English, we have Hebrew. Now you want me to take Spanish? I said, this is ridiculous. I wasn't such a great student, to say the least. And, I went to Rabbi Tights and I said, Rabbi Tights, I said, you have me in Spanish class. And I said, it's a total waste of my time. I said, I have enough problems with Hebrew and I have even problems with English. And you're trying to get me to speak Spanish? So he thinks about it first and he says, you're right. During Spanish class, you go to the computer room. And, this is going back, I guess about 30 years ago or 30 years since it's going back about 30 years or so. And, that's how I got into computers. That's how I first started learning. But, so I totally hear that pain point of one language is enough for most people.
Exactly. And that was my experience. And fortunately my father was, born and raised in Brooklyn. So he was a U.S. citizen. So I was able to come, I'm a dual citizen, Canadian and U.S. and was able to come to the U.S., go to yeshiva here, was very fortunate to go to Touro College, which is great.
Yeshiva did you go to?
Here I went to Yeshiva Far Rockaway, and then I learned in Yeshiva Zichron Aryeh, both in the Far Rockaway Five Towns area. Mm-hmm. And again, great opportunity with Touro to be able to learn during the day and go to school at night. So did that, got married, moved to Far Rockaway. Once I graduated from Touro, my original plan actually was to be a clinical psychologist, and then I realized that you needed a PhD to really be a clinical psychologist. It seemed like a long haul. And I heard about this field called organizational psychology. It just seemed really, really interesting to me, this concept of motivating employees and trying to create engagement with employees. It just seemed like a really, really interesting part of psychology that I'd never heard of before. So I applied to Columbia University and got into their master's program in organizational psychology.
Wow.
Loved it. It was just, wow, this is a total different application of psychology than I had thought of before, in terms of helping people, which I love to do, but this is really a different application, and finished my degree there in organizational psychology. Then I went to Hofstra University for a degree in marriage and family therapy. Okay. Not so much in order to be a marriage and family therapist as much as to learn a lot more about communication and conflict resolution, which I wanted to use in my field of organizational psychology to sort of help organizations out, through better communication, better team dynamics, better conflict resolution. So went to Hofstra and then was really, really, So everything's hashgacha, but was very, very fortunate to get a job with a company here in New York City called DoubleClick.
Oh, sure, I know DoubleClick. They were bought by Google. I remember them before they were bought from Google.
Right, and I was, like I said, really, really fortunate because here I was, a yeshiva guy, who basically my background was, in yeshiva and had some degrees. I knew nothing about that field of technology or what they were doing, which was advertising technology. But again, Baruch Hashem, I interviewed there and I got a job there. It was a great company.
What was your job over there?
So my job was and again, this was, like I said, just hashgacha in a lot of different ways. They were a 700-person technology company based in New York, but really global. And they were looking to hire somebody to help them grow from 700 to 1,500 in 2 years.
Okay.
So they had this very aggressive plan of really growing the company very, very fast and ultimately either going public again. They had been a public company at one point or getting sold to, Google, AOL, Microsoft, Yahoo. Those were the ones who, after a few years, were actually the ones involved in bidding for DoubleClick. So it was just an incredible experience where I got to literally, get involved in everything. Get involved in, training new hires and training managers and training leaders and skill development and learning about technology, an area that I did not know a lot about in 2005 when I started over there. But it was a great organization. The people there were really, really friendly and wanted to help and really wanted to get involved. And that's sort of where I started my thinking around this whole notion of social learning, just being in that kind of environment where people wanted to help you. I would talk to a product manager and say, so much about product management, would you be willing to share this with others in the organization? And the answer was always yes. And people were just like, yeah, I'd love to do that. What do we do? And I just said, well, we'll figure it out. We'll do something with WebEx and email. We'll sort of, MacGyver something together over here and we can do things. And we started doing job shadowing programs and mentoring programs. And I really learned there that leveraging your people is pretty much the only way you're going to be able to train enough employees to go from 700 to 1,500 in 2 years. So like I said, great experience. And also as a frum person, could not have asked for a better first environment, I would say, in terms of place to work. New York City is not very difficult in terms of being a frum employee. Again, from my experience, right. That's what I found. But they were overly accommodating. I mean, we had a mincha minion there. Wow. Yeah, we didn't have enough from people in our company. We had a few, but there were other companies in the building, but they were more than happy to host it and just really incredibly accommodating in so many ways. So it was a really great experience. I had to travel a lot for work, but again, they bent over backwards to, sort of accommodate my schedules and accommodate my needs and things like that. Yeah, absolutely. I remember at one point having to fly to Ireland for a week. And and my manager
live on beer alone, I guess.
Well, that would have been one option, but my manager literally just sitting me down saying, "Hey, Avi, we need you to go over there." And I don't know, what the kosher situation is over there or what, but you do what you have to do. In terms of, and basically she was just saying, financially, I didn't have to really abide by the typical T&E rules. Go find what you need to do in order to go there, and that's always the experience I found there. So really, really great experience there. After about 2.5 years, Google agreed to buy DoubleClick.
Right.
So I joined Google. They already had a presence in New York. People weren't that aware of it, but they already had a few thousand employees in New York City.
So we 2,000 employees in New York City doesn't make a lot of noise,
Yeah, not for Google.
Not for Google.
Everyone really thinks of them or even thought of them as a very much a West Coast company. But we got acquired by Google, and again, really, really great experience. Google being another great organization, one to work for in terms of the people that are there, and two, again, as a frum person in the workplace, just incredibly accommodating. Google's legendary for their feeding their employees breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it was no different for the frum people. I remember originally we had found them some kind of sandwich vendor, I think out of Jersey somewhere, to provide, meals for us, from people who were working at Google. And the chef came back after a couple months and he said, no, this isn't good enough. This is not on par with what we serve here. And he ended up creating a relationship with Abigail's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So could not complain about that.
I was going to say that's terrible. You had to eat Abigail's every single day.
Every day. Yeah. It was awful. It was really, really awful.
And your wife must have been, you come home from dinner and she's like, tuna sandwich?
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, she used to call me. It was funny. They would literally deliver fresh food every morning, and a lot of it. I mean, maybe we had 15 or 20 people eating kosher, and it was good food. And I remember the kitchen staff would really, be vigilant about protecting it and making sure that none of the non-kosher eaters were trying to steal some of the kosher food because it was really good. But I remember my wife used to call me late in the day, and at night sometimes there would be some stuff left over, and they always said, just take it home with you. We don't, we're going to throw it out. Great. Yeah, she would call and say, so what do you have over there and I would take a look. I said, well, seems like there's some salad here and maybe there's some sushi. Let me know what you want and we bring it home. So it's, again, like That's I said, great. Just really, really good experience here with Google. Ultimately decided after about 6 months at Google that I was going to move on. Again, like I said, great experience, but I felt a lot of their focus was on the West Coast, and that would really have to be something I'd have to make a decision about. And I like New York City. My kids are already sort of growing up and very comfortable here. So left Google, very briefly worked for Blue Man Group, the show.
I want to hear about because how do you go from Google and being a from Yid, working for Blue Man Group? I mean, that's
So just to be clear, I was never a Blue Man. I always get that. I always get that question.
That's my next question. Did you ever have to fill in or?
So Blue Man Group was actually very interesting. People don't realize it's a very large organization.
First of all, for our listeners that don't know what Blue Man's Group is, how would you describe them? Even?
It's an entertainment. I mean, it's an entertainment show that combines music, comedy, lights, and action. It's a very interesting show because
and men dressed all in blue. I mean, they were blue.
There are 3 men in all the shows who are all blue. And when I say also is what's interesting about it's a very family friendly show, and that again was interesting for me in terms of who as a film person again wanting to associate yourself with certain organizations. But it's an incredibly family friendly show, and they have 5 or 6 shows across the country, and I think they also have a relationship with Norwegian Cruise Line, and they have a show there. So really interesting organization, and again in the entertainment industry, an industry I knew nothing about, but they had approached me at some point while I was still at Google. They approached me and said, we realize now we're a big company. I mean, they have, people don't realize there are actually about 50 or 60 Blue Men.
Oh, wow.
So in order to have, 20 shows a week.
You can't tell them apart though.
You can't. I think, and I could not either. And it was always funny to bump into some of the Blue Men in the hall and the guy would say, yeah, I'm one of the Blue Men. And I was like, no, you just look like a regular guy. You just look like a normal person.
Where's your blue skin?
Exactly. So there are about 50 or 60 of them to accommodate, the various shows they have. Like I said, Vegas might be 20 shows a week. And it's impossible for 3 guys to do the same show. And then they've got musicians and they've got all the things that go into really putting out a theater production. And they have a lot of back office staff, sales and marketing and all that. And they really started to see themselves as a real company, a real organization. And again, was looking for somebody like myself to come in and help them with that. So help them become, a real company and think about the things like employee development and training and performance and all kinds of things like that. Unfortunately, when I joined, was around 2008, 2009 when the economy took a huge hit. So, and entertainment is always the industry that goes first. So, that's people's discretionary spend. And so I was only there for a few months. And they came and they basically said, hey, Avi, we're sorry, it's not going to work out. And I said, that's fine. I love the opportunity. It was really interesting for the time I was there. And again, very fortunate, was still kind of had recently left Google. So still had some contacts and some opportunities. And I was introduced to a company called Undertone, a New York-based company that, again, introduction sort of through Google and DoubleClick, but also in the advertising technology space, small company. And I met with the CEO and he said, hey, Avi, I have a small company and maybe companies don't really hire somebody like you so early on in the evolution of the company, but I want this to be a great place to work. Like aside from, making money and all that, I just want this to be a great place to work. I want you to come on board and help us do that. Mm-hmm. So spent 4.5 years at Undertone, focused on that. So we grew from 90 employees to over 300 employees, and became an international company. But aside from that, and aside from very fortunate the company did well and does well. Really proud of the fact that we were named to numerous best places to work lists, and whether it's in New York City or other cities or in certain industries like advertising. So that was really great to have that opportunity to again. Work for a company that wanted to do that, and again, get to use sort of the things that I started really, really getting comfortable with, which was again this concept of social learning and interaction and collaboration and all the things that were really exciting for me.
And now, a word from our sponsor. Do you have a website that runs on WordPress? If you are like me, you want the peace of mind knowing your website is up to date, secure from viruses and hacks, and will always be up and running at peak performance, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was also tired of paying the developer hundreds of dollars every time I just wanted a few tweaks to my website or to add a new product to my e-commerce site, but I couldn't even justify paying for even a half-time developer. That is why I became part of the founding team of WP Milk. WP Milk monitors and secures a website and backs it up daily in the cloud using Amazon S3. If your site goes down, we know about it instantly and work directly with your hosting company without you getting involved. Need to add a page to your website? Keep your plugins updated? How about creating a custom form? With WP Milk, you have unlimited email support and site tweaks to always keep your site running smooth and feature-rich. For less than $5 a day, you can have your very own professional WordPress team at your fingertips, giving you all these features and much more. At that price, how can you afford not to? You have zero risk with our 30-day no questions asked money-back guarantee. So visit WPMilk.com right now and sign up for updates, and you will get a special discount on launch. And now, back to our show. So how did you get into Showed Me? Like, how'd you come up with the idea, and what made you say, hey, you know what, I don't want to work for these companies as great as they are. I actually want to go out as an entrepreneur. I want to go out on my own and build my own thing.
Yeah, great question. Really what it was, again, as I saw the advantage of using sort of employees and collaboration internally, I looked for technology to support that. So, now I'd worked for technology companies for a number of years, was very comfortable with it, and couldn't really find the type of technology that could help us make it easy within organizations for employees to find each other, to connect with each other, to speak with each other, to use the content that they create together for other employees. Just, it didn't exist. I remember at one point calling, very early on in 2005, 2006, trying to talk to Facebook and trying to get them to let us use Facebook as a business solution. And they were not interested. Had the same conversation with LinkedIn back in 2005, 2006 and said, again, we see the value in what LinkedIn's doing, but we want to use it internally. And again, they were not interested in that. So over the years, I had built internally with contractors certain technology that helped what I'm talking about, connecting employees and being able to do that, and realized that, by the fact that it didn't exist in the market, there potentially is a big market opportunity for it. So in around, I would say mid 2014, decided that, now seemed like a really good time to test the market. I spoke to a lot of colleagues I had in the training and development world, and they said, yeah, this is something we would love to have and we're looking for. And just again, with my family and my wife, when you embark on something like this, you've got to have everyone's support. So yeah, made the leap and decided to sort of, sort of leverage the things I had learned in my, 10 years of training and development experience, but also some of the things I learned, again, working in the technology space to create the Showed Me platform.
So that's great. And how did you fund it? Was it friends and family?
I was very fortunate. One of the things that I've tried to do, again, working in human resources, sort of gives me a little bit of a insight into hiring and careers and things like that. And one of the things I've been involved with since 2008, 2009 is, training people on, interviewing skills and hiring and things like that. And one of my friends had for many years was trying to get me involved with the Aguda, and I sort of, kept turning him down. I kept saying, hey, it's not for me. Politics isn't really for me. I don't really understand it that well. And, I think advocacy is really, really important. But again, just sort of the political side of it didn't really appeal to me. And then one day he came to me and said, hey, forget the political side. We've got this, division called PCS, and it helps, people get jobs. And
sure, actually, I did some lectures for them a couple years ago. For the liquid branch.
That's exactly who I did for the same thing. So he connected me with PCS, and we started to talk, and I was able to do a couple of sessions for them. And then through that relationship with the Aguda, I met a man by the name of Gedalia Weinberger, who's very involved.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, so he's very involved with the Aguda. Met with him, and he said, okay, aside from this, what else do you do? And I said, hey, I'm planning on starting this company called Showed Me. He was working on some technology that I wouldn't say was similar, but again, similar ideas around sort of improving educational technology was, I guess, would be the broad term. And we started talking, and he said, you know what? Why don't we do this together? I'm working on this project. You're looking to start this project. Why don't we collaborate on this? And that's basically how we've funded the company, by really partnering together, leveraging some of the stuff he had done already and his knowledge and his network. So it's been great. It's been great to have a partner like that. Again, tremendous hashgacha,
sure.
Getting involved with the Aguda and meeting with him and his interest in really seeing PCS be successful and continue to be successful. We've worked together on other programs now for PCS, including trying to get more people involved with software. So I think PCS has been very, very successful in the accounting field and some of the other fields, but we see software development and, those types of skills as huge opportunities moving forward, and particularly great for people, learning in Kollel or wanting to potentially avoid the, having to go to your typical college experience. Right. Software is one of those areas where, hiring managers and people like that really just look at, what can you do? Can you build me something? Great. Then let's go. Let's do it. So that's how we got Showed Me off the ground. We've been working on the platform for a little over a year. Launched it a couple months ago, and it's been fantastic. It's been well received by companies. It's been well received by analysts in the HR technology space, and just in general, we, Baruch Hashem, could not ask for anything more really at this point.
Wow, fantastic! And I mean, there's I assume that you're probably just getting started after a year, but there's always more features, more things you want to do with it, and there's unlimited companies that can use it. But what's the typical size company that's great for your software?
Well, so that's a great question. I mean, we go after small, mid-sized businesses for two reasons. One, they don't have a lot of training resources. So if we can show them something that, is easy to use and can help them be successful really quickly, that's appealing to them. The other reason we go after small, mid-sized businesses is that, the sales cycle is a little easier.
Sure.
Usually it's one or two people you need to speak to and it's yes or no. Sure, it's appealing to go after Fortune 500 companies, but the sales cycle there might be a year or two, and you need to talk to, hundreds of people. And frankly, we're a startup. We're a small company. We don't really have that kind of capacity. What's been interesting is the number of Fortune 500 companies who have approached us and come to us. One of the first ones was Airbus in June of 2014. I think we just had a website. I don't think we had anything. And one of their training managers emailed me from Germany, and he's a astronaut training manager. He trains astronauts from all the different countries of the world actually come out there to where he is in Cologne, Germany, and and Airbus trains them on certain components. And he said, I'm here, and this is what I do. I'm an astronaut training manager, but we have 150,000 people at Airbus, and I don't know who knows what. I have no way to reach out to them. If I want to learn something, or if I want to expand my skill base or my knowledge, I don't have a way to do that. Your system sounds like it would be perfect. And I said, yeah, sounds like it would be to me also. I hope to
wish we had
hope
it.
To build, yeah, hope to build what you're looking for. And then also kind of just told him, listen, it's me and engineers and some marketing people, but for us, we're going to focus on the small, mid-sized market because again, easier for us to have conversations with, and hopefully again, we'll have the opportunity to deal with those larger companies because this is something they're looking at as well. If you have 50,000 employees, if you have 20,000 employees, the ability to find people really easily and find experts and connect with them is something they're all looking to do.
Beautiful. So, I mean, we basically talked about this is what do you call this? Socially based employee training, right? It's employee training based on, I guess, a social network within the company, correct?
Exactly. And what we do is we tag everything with a skill, right? So everything that's in our system is tagged with a skill. So people are tagged with skills, right? Like you might have on LinkedIn, you might search for somebody who knows sales, you might search for somebody who knows marketing, you might search for somebody who knows entrepreneurship. That's the way they're tagged internally. And the tags can be even more specific. So it could be, knows Coca-Cola bottling, knows PwC's accounting systems, whatever it is. It could be very, very specific. Right. And that way, when people come into our system, they start searching for those things. And it's only internal, so you're only looking at employees within your organization, but you can find those experts internally on those specific areas. And the same way, if anyone shares a document, we tag that document. We can share with other people. So again, you can be searching for, negotiation skills and find a PowerPoint that somebody shared with another person, or a PDF that they shared, video recordings of sessions. We have, questions and answers that have happened. You can search for all these things because they're tagged. And that's really what we consider to be really social. Social is not just, being able to comment or like something. Social is really being able to find things, right? That's the way that we, find the key things, find the important things and use them to help you be successful.
It's great. It's great. And let's talk a bit about leadership development. That's something that you do. That's something you coach people on, or or something that your company does?
So, my background is, and my first love is training. I love training people. I like getting up in front of a room of people and teaching them a new skill, like how to delegate properly or how to motivate employees or time management and productivity or negotiation skills or any of those things. And I love doing it. I also find it to be terribly inefficient. So, you think about it, in this world today, to stand up in front of a room of 12 people, and spend a few hours with them. Again, I love it. I hope they get something out of it, but there's so much more to it. There's so many more tools we have now that, again, like we sort of talked about at the beginning, why are we still using the methodologies we have from 30, 40 years ago? Right. So what I try to do though is, and what we try to do really with our organization is the people that work on my team, whether they're on client services or implementation or marketing, they know a lot about training. So they don't not put the technology aside. They know a lot about training, and that's what really we help organizations do. We don't come in and say, you should use our technology because our technology is really cool. We don't say that. We say, what are some of the pain points that you have? Are you onboarding a lot of people? Are you afraid some people are not having a great experience? Do you need to develop your managers? Do you have a lot of really high potential employees who need more from your organization? And that's really what we spend time with them on. And we talk to them about that. We say, how can we improve your onboarding experience? How can we improve your management experience? How can we retain your employees? How can we ensure that, with employees leaving jobs every 2-3 years now, you're retaining some expertise, right? Because you have smart people and they're only here for a couple of years and they go someplace else. Like, what happened to everything that they knew? That's really where we spend our time. So we talk about like leadership development. We spend our time sort of coaching them on that and explain to them that.
How do you do? So I don't understand it. They sign up for the software. They get this coaching also. Like, how does that work?
Exactly.
The software itself teaches you?
No, we don't charge for that, and we do leverage our own software to train people. So yeah, I would say we like Google likes to say we dog food it. We use our technology to train the companies that we work with.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just you buy our technology, and we don't assume that just because you bought it, it's going to help you. We know that we need to be consultative. We need to work with you. We need to help you be successful. So yeah, we leverage our expertise in setting up management training programs and say, hey, would you like to set up a management training program? They're like, yeah, we want to teach our employees about delegation, and we share the resources that we have again in our combined careers. We've got a lot of great materials and great ideas for them. And then we say, why don't you use our technology to build a forum around your management training? So maybe you do a 1-hour training, and then people can share ideas and share concepts with each other using a forum within Showed Me, and then you have a follow-up training session a week later or 2 weeks later, right? So it's really, again, using those original concepts of leadership development and leadership training, but now you leverage technology, so you're really kind of capturing that information somewhere, leveraging it, letting people sort of talk to each other, communicate with each other in a private and safe environment, share new articles they might find. I find an article 2 weeks later. Email's inefficient. That's not a great place to send the article to the rest of my group around, delegation, this great article on delegation. Sure. A forum might be a great place to do that. So that's really what it is. Yeah, we want companies to be successful at that, and ultimately it'll help us be successful because if we just give them the technology and say, yeah, this will make onboarding magically work, it's not going to work. Or this will make your managers more successful, that's not going to happen. And that's really ultimately what we want.
Are you guys mobile friendly for people so that they could keep in contact or they could watch or learn on the go?
Absolutely. So we've got a native iOS application. Besides for our technology being really responsive, so you could log into our platform, just do a web browser using an iPad or an iPhone. We've built the native technology for iOS specifically because there's certain things people want to use from our system when they're using an iPhone or an iPad more than when they're using it on the web. And it's great for the kinds of organizations that like to use that like to make sure we have a mobile application are ones that have a lot of people out in the field. So maybe they have a lot of salespeople out in the field. They're not really carrying laptops around anymore these days. They're carrying an iPad around with them. Guy realizes, hey, and tomorrow I've got a meeting with a client in an industry that I don't really know a lot about. He goes into our app, he searches for somebody who knows, the print industry, finds 5 people, reaches out to them, sets up a video chat with them and says, hey, what can you teach me in 15 minutes about print? And more importantly, why don't we record this so we can post this out for others within the organization to use?
What a great application. That's really fantastic.
Yeah,
really
and that's a typical application of a mobile app for us.
Wow. Okay, so this has been really great, really fantastic information. I think, for any small or mid-sized business, this application is be extremely useful for, and I think the sooner you get on, the more content you'll have as you continue to grow. So kudos for creating and coming up with something so fantastic. Let me ask you just a couple more questions, and then we'll close it off. But as an entrepreneur, what would you say is the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice I've ever received as an entrepreneur, I've received so much great advice. I mean, to be honest with you, Baruch Hashem, I've got a really, really, fantastic network of people, and they've all been, just incredibly helpful. Some of the best advice I've gotten is actually not that, it's not that monumental. It's along the lines of, being patient, just because you have a great idea. And it is a great idea. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to execute, as quickly as you hope. Sometimes it takes some, one to really build it, to build the picture you have in your head, to actually make it come out in a platform that might take some time. And learning how people want to use it, that takes some time. So, very early on when I started talking to people, and a lot of people were saying, "Hey, Avi, this is a great idea. You should really do it." And I remember telling some of the people I spoke to, like, I've got enough pats on the back now. What do I need to watch out for? And the best advice I got there was, just be patient. You're doing something for the first time, and anytime you have a startup, and you look at some of the most successful startups right now, whether it's an Uber or an Airbnb or even a Google, right? Had very different intentions, potentially early on. Again, all based on really, really great concepts and great ideas. But you got to be patient. You've got to see how the market receives your product or idea. You may have to tweak it or change it or accommodate it. We've learned all those things last year, and fortunately, again, I got that advice of being patient early on. And every time I would get frustrated, with myself or with the platform or with prospects or customers, I just keep going back to that, that advice of, really, be patient. And again, and looking at some of the history, you see these companies now and they've got these billion-dollar valuations and you're like, wow, this is amazing. And then you realize some have been around a lot longer than you realize. Some have been around since 2008 to 2009 and 2009. So you're like, hey, what were they doing for the last 4 or 5 years? And the answer is they were getting it wrong. And now they figured it out. And, I know from my own experience, I'm involved with other startups, and some of them early on, just could not get off the ground. We couldn't get any traction. One of them I'm involved with, a month ago, just raised a $45 million round. And, wow. And that's, again, it started in 2012, and it's nice to see in 2015 they're raising that kind of round, but again, sometimes people don't realize that these companies have been around for a long time, and anyone who was interested in starting, whatever it is, it could be a storefront, it could be a small business, or it could be a startup in the technology space, or whatever it is. It's about being patient and realizing that, again, many have gone down the same path and have had the frustrations and have had the challenges come up. And again, if you're patient and you're confident and you believe in it, and you're sincere, Emir Hashem, it'll all come together.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, one last question, and then we'll close off this episode. It's been really fantastic so far. But do you have any books that you could recommend to read? Anything that you've really learned from that's helped you?
Do people still read books?
Funny enough,
I thought people just read Twitter and blogs. There are not many. I think one of the challenges I've always found with books is, people say, "Hey, Avi, can you recommend a book on leadership?" Go on Amazon, and you'll see there's 1,000 books on leadership, right? And a lot of them are good.
They want to know which one did you read that you like.
Yeah. So the truth of the matter is that it's a really interesting book that I read a number of years ago called The Art of Possibility, and it's a small book, and it's written by a husband and wife team. They're both musicians, I believe, and psychologists, and their mindset was, and what they really tried to introduce was this concept that, again, anything is really possible. Right. So you don't have to sort of confine yourselves to what's happened in the past and in conformity and things like that. And I think, again, that's very, very important when you look at the world today, right? And you look at just the pace that things are changing in our world today. Like, anything really is possible. Like, I don't think anyone would say right now, like, we won't be in flying cars in 5 years, but again, had you mentioned someone 5 years ago that there would be self-driving cars in 5 years, people would have said, "You're crazy. It's not going to happen." I still don't believe it. Yeah. So that book, again, just sort of introduces this concept of if you come in to a situation and your mindset is, it's possible, then you can really do something with it. And the example that really sort of resonated with me was the husband's I forget their name
Xander?
right now. Yes. Yeah, great couple. He's a fantastic musician also. He has some great, he's a pianist and some great stuff on YouTube. And he would walk into his class the first day of the semester and he would say, "Everyone's got an A." And he just needs to do one thing right now. You need to tell me why you got your A. and he would basically ask them on day one of the semester to explain to them all the things that they're going to be doing the rest of the semester to earn that A. And once they wrote those things down, it was much easier for them to then really sort of follow that path and make it happen. So if you come in the first day of the semester and you're thinking to yourself, like, how could I possibly get an A? This is an impossible course. Yeah, it might be. I mean, that you might just be might be prophesizing that. But if you come in saying, okay, these are all the things I'm going to do. And he accepted all of them, right? So he just said, yeah, you know what? If you do what you told me you're going to do, you're going to get your A. And whatever they wrote, whether they said, "I'm going to get my 90s on all your quizzes and exams," or whether they wrote, "I'm going to write a great midterm paper," or "I'm going to pay a lot of attention," whatever it is. He just said, if you do those things, you're going to get your A. And he would get, again, really, really fantastic.
I love that. I think we could and should implement that into our yeshivas, Mm-hmm. Tell the kids, hey, you got the grades, but what are you going to do this year, to get those grades?
Absolutely.
Let them write it out. I mean, that's genius. I love that.
Absolutely. I mean, my son is starting high school next year, and I remember you look around different yeshivas, and unfortunately, we live in the 5 towns where all the yeshivas here are fantastic. And we had good friends whose sons went there, and they were graduating this year. And we were talking to them, and one's Teres Yaakov, Mesivta Teres Yaakov. Okay. It's a high school here in Lawrence. I remember speaking to one of our friends, and they said, "How's it going?" And they said, "Great." And they said, "One of our sons finished 8 Masechtas this year." And I said, "What?" I said, and yeah, when I went to speak to him about it.
You can't even do that with Daf Yomi. What are you talking about?
When I went to speak to him about it, so first of all, 2 things amazing. One, he said, look, a lot of them were small Masechta. I said, that doesn't matter. I said, Masechta is a Masechta. And then he also finished. How many times
do you learn Horius?
Right. And exactly. And he said, but he also finished the Yeshiva Masechta, which I believe was Kedushin and others. And then the other thing that was amazing was I was talking to one of his Rebbeim, and he said, he didn't just finish them, he knows them. And I said, well, what happened? And he just said, he decided he could. He just decided that he could learn on his own and with chavrusas and with Rebbeim and all that. He just decided he could. And once he decided that he could do that, he just, now it's endless, right? It's like, I feel that way about a lot of things, like people who start Daf Yomi, for example. I'm like, well, really? Am I going to go every day? And it's so early in the morning or it's late at night. And it's like, once you decide you're doing it and you could, you find suddenly it's 4 years later, you're like, wait, I'm halfway through Shas right now. This is incredible, right? So that, again, I think that I would say one book, The Art of Possibility. It's short. It's summer now. If you get a day off or something like that, you can take it to the park and read it. And again, just really opened up my mind. And anytime people say that's crazy, like how are we going to onboard 1,000 people in 2 years, or how are we going to expand to this country, or how are we going to make money, or how are we going to start this company, or even our engineers. Sometimes I'll tell them we need to do something really crazy, and they'll come back and they'll be like, come on, Avi, that's impossible. We can't. I just said, well, let's just pretend it is possible. possible? How do we do it? What would we do? And they've come up with some incredible things. So the art of possibility.
Beautiful. Really great. What a powerful way to end this episode. Really fantastic content. Really, thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for sharing these insights and these ideas. And, I'm really looking forward to continued success from Showed Me. And, thank you again for joining our show. And, I look forward to, keeping up the communication, and hopefully we'll get you back one day.
Thank you so much. And I will be in Eretz Yisrael a little bit after Sukkot. We're making bar mitzvah there. So,
beautiful milestone.
Yeah. So I will, I'll reach out then, and maybe we can connect in person then.
That'd be fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the From Entrepreneur Podcast with Nahum Kligman. We hope you learned something valuable, and we'll share this with your friends. For show notes, archives of previous episodes, and more information to help you start and grow your business, please visit our website, www.FromEntrepreneur.com. Listen, learn, be Matzliach.